and store energy in these big dams. And it's important for balance power and everything. And today in Sweden, everyone talks about Swedish needs of energy, but that's not the case. I mean, today we have import and export of energy. For instance, which were sometimes it's stated somewhere that we even import Russian nuclear power. It's 2-3% via Estonia and Finland. Another thing is that we now, the thing now, demand for energy is, for instance, in Västerås. We have these now large-scale halls built for Amazon, Google, Facebook, that needs a lot of energy to cool them down. We have Amazon now just outside Västerås, large hall. So this is not one of the really big ones, but it's quite big. This you see on the picture. So it's important to differ. You see dynamite have been used, channelized, concrete, blah blah blah, everything. This is a typical small scale. The worst case, small scale, where you have built a tunnel, so everything is more or less gone, all water. So they look like this. They can't store any water. They have a technique that water just runs through. If it's little water, less production, more water, more production. So they have no importance for the total Swedish energy system. I say, when I'm really nasty, I say this is a hobby for elderly men instead of toys or trains, toy trains or something. So this is how Sweden looks. You can see there the size, production. So you see many of them are southern Sweden, small scale. The more north you get, the more large scale. And these are the rivers where I'm afraid very little will be done. We have some still, we have so-called national rivers, River Vindelälven, which is partly not true because it goes together with Umeälven, which has a dam before it enters the Baltic Sea. We have Piteälven, we have Torneälven, and so on. And we have stretches, and that is extremely complicated now for Swedish national authorities because there are stretches. One of them is just north of here, in Riverdalälven. They are Natura 2000. And they are totally depending on amplitudes of water going up, going down, causing flooding, getting dry. That's why it's a Natura 2000 area. And how to deal with this related to energy production, because that's a very strong EU directive. So that's an open question. No one really knows how to deal with it. So you see, we have a lot of dams. We have I think we have 5,000 more dams that have not been used for hydropower in any way. So I think all of you understand that you need to have a catchment perspective when you talk about rivers. And you know, the connectivity goes in all kinds of directions, upstream, downstream, floodings, and up and down. So the ecosystem around the river is, of course, depending on all these functions to be natural. Well, you see for yourself, the running waters, the water itself maybe only covers 1% of the catchment, but is home for 20% of the species. Small ones and big ones, vertebrates and fish and otters or whatever. This is in Sweden, but I think you can understand. The red is when you have a hydropower station regulated for production of electricity. The blue is the natural flow. This is one of the big rivers in the north. And you have month, January, February, March. You have the floodings in spring, the snow is melting in the Snow is melting in the mountains, and then it dry again in autumn. And now it looks like it's the fluctuations. But because of higher needs and higher production, and because we have a market situation with electricity now. So you sell what you get most money for in every second. I mean, when you switch on the light, that electricity should be produced somewhere, and that is based on a market situation. So what happens then in some rivers that you even get this difference between top and bottom higher, and there are no plant, no fish, nothing that can survive if this happens within 1 hour all the time. And that is the main upcoming problem, because it said that this will increase the need to be even more flexible.
What is the consequence in a wider perspective of lacking of that?
You see.
Yeah. Okay.
This is a free-flowing river. That is one effect of the flooding. This is River Vindelälven, which is a national river. This is how it looks. You have you have floods up to the forest, more or less, even into the forest sometimes, when you have these spring floods. So this is how it looks, if it's natural, or should look. This is the regulated river Umeälven. This is the shores, how they look. So, I mean, it's quite obvious that that the difference in biodiversity and ecosystem services is extremely high. Some species can't live in this situation, plants and even some insects and invertebrates, or even worse in this situation. So, compared to this one, to that. And this is a famous picture, and people related to hydropower get crazy every time it's shown. These are eels that have passed a hydropower station. Depends on the turbines. If there are two types of turbines. One is better compared to downstream migration compared to the other, but this is the worst case. It's short. But it's also important to remember that the eels haven't migrated upstreams. Someone had put them out there upstreams, which makes it quite strange, in fact, because this then could happen just to keep up the fishery. We import small ones, put them upstreams, dams, downstream, which is a quite strange situation. So lots of problems. So environmental flows, this is in Swedish, environmental flows, E-flows. So we need some kind of spring flood, at least in our parts of the world, where we normally have a spring flood after winter, when snow is melting. You need an E-flow all year around. I mean, even if you have water here 8 months per year, and then suddenly it looks like this, it's useless. You get ecosystem improved and species, of course, biodiversity generally, but of course, as you said, you lose production. So what we have argued, and what is true, the Swedish Hydrological and Meteorological Institute, they forecast due to climate change, says that there will be an increase in snow and rainfall, well, you can see for yourself, coming years. And then the question is, should all of this be used for production, or could it be used for spring flood and E-flows? And the funny thing is that the people, I mean, forestry, agriculture, and other sectors, they talk about, they take this serious about what the Swedish Hydrological and Meteorological Institute predictions are. But hydropower companies don't want to discuss it, even. They don't they don't want to foresee this or discuss it, which also is quite strange. And then, of course, you have all these upcoming things to save, be more effective. I mean, storage of electricity will increase not only in big dams, but or in small batteries, but in different kinds of systems. You need for definitely improved distribution systems, more effective. You lose a lot of energy when we transport electricity from 1,000 kilometers north of here down to Västerås. That will also be improved. So there are a lot of possibilities. The thing is that these big companies, they just want to discuss. They are so spoiled. They have lived 50, 70 years without taking any considerations or realizing the problem for biodiversity for a very long time, with acceptance from all parties in Sweden, more or less. So yes, that's the big fight. The WWF, as you see, was involved in a project in Umeälven. I wasn't involved in that one, but I was involved in another one in River Ångermanälven, which also is a big one, together with partners up in Laponia. And in fact, that project managed to restore a small branch of the big river system without losing any energy or electricity whatsoever to a breeding habitat for grayling. And the funny thing was that the local Statkraft was the name of that company. The local manager there, he was very enthusiastic and he wanted to go in and sponsor more of these activities. But when that went up to the board of Statkraft, they said, no, never. Because they don't want to do anything. They don't even want to investigate what they could do. Because they have never been asked to. That's the sad story.
Statkraft
again, talking
Norwegian.
about pardon?
Norwegian company.
Statkraft, yes, Norwegian. And again, I'm talking about large-scale hydropower. Small scale is another story. There are other problems. And that's also funny. Telge Energi, they don't produce electricity. They buy and sell energy. It's a municipality company, city south of Stockholm. And the hydropower companies, they have no problems with the NGOs. They know our position, we know their position. But then when suddenly someone that was involved in buying and selling energy started to support these activities, they had a lot of criticism, this company. But they still keep on supporting the WWF for doing this. So, yeah. That's it. Thank you. Questions?